All right, Ravens fans, training camp is officially underway, and things are already heating up behind the scenes. The Ravens have started making important roster decisions. A familiar face is officially back in Baltimore. Several players were brought in for workouts, and there's one situation that has every fan paying close attention. The big question is, when will we finally know if Nnamdi Matabike is ready to get back on the field? That answer could have a huge impact on the start of the season. And there's something else we need to talk about. While many fans were hoping Baltimore would make a big move for a star wide receiver like Stephon Diggs, it looks like the Ravens have chosen a completely different path. Now I want to hear from you. Do you agree with the team's decision to trust the young wide receivers, or do you think Baltimore should have signed a veteran receiver instead? Let me know in the comments. And if you've been a loyal Baltimore Ravens fan for more than 15 years, make sure you smash that like button. Now, let's break down everything happening behind the scenes in Baltimore. Training camp has officially begun for the Baltimore Ravens, and while the open practices have not started yet, there's already plenty happening behind the scenes. Quarterbacks, rookies, and injured veterans have reported, which means one of the biggest questions surrounding this team should finally receive some answers very soon. One of the main storylines continues to be Nnamdi Matabike and his recovery. Everyone wants to know whether he will be ready to participate in training camp, whether he will begin practicing immediately, or whether the team will have to place him on the physically unable to perform list. According to comments shared by Eric DeCosta, more information should become available soon, and that timing makes perfect sense because the coaching staff needs clarity before camp moves into full speed. Every roster decision from this point forward depends on knowing who will be available. For Ravens fans, this situation is bigger than simply having another defensive lineman available. Seeing Matabike participate in camp, even in a limited role, would be a very encouraging sign that he could be ready early in the regular season. Even if he does not immediately practice at full intensity, simply being on the field would represent major progress in his recovery. On the other hand, if he cannot participate and begins camp on the PUP list, the uncertainty surrounding his timeline would continue. Nobody wants to rush a player's recovery, especially someone as important as Matabike. The priority is making sure he returns healthy instead of returning too early. Everything points toward him doing everything possible to play this season. The only remaining question is exactly when that will happen. Another smaller but still interesting update involves recently signed center Ethan Posick. For now, he will wear jersey number 77. It may not end up being his permanent number because roster changes always happen throughout training camp, but that is the number currently assigned to him. As players are released and others earn roster spots, jersey numbers often change, so fans should not be surprised if adjustments happen before the regular season begins. Before training camp officially gets into full swing, Baltimore also evaluated several players through workouts. The Ravens brought in 7 players to compete for opportunities and potentially strengthen different areas of the roster. Those players included tackles Hakeem Adeniji and Jaron Christian, quarterback William Atkins, wide receivers Chris Moore, Dante Pettis, Sterling Shepard, and Casey Washington. Looking at those names tells us something important about what Baltimore wants to accomplish over the next several weeks. The organization clearly wanted additional depth at offensive tackle and additional competition among the wide receivers. Training camp is always about competition, and bringing in experienced players raises the level for everyone already on the roster. The offensive tackle position is especially understandable. With established starters expected to have limited preseason workloads, the Ravens need players capable of handling additional practice and preseason snaps. Extra depth becomes extremely valuable because coaches need enough healthy bodies to run productive practices every day. The same logic applies to wide receiver. Baltimore has a young group of receivers, and adding experienced veterans creates competition without automatically guaranteeing anyone a roster spot. Every player now has to earn his place. After those workouts, the Ravens decided to sign one familiar name that many longtime fans will immediately recognize. Chris Moore is officially back in Baltimore. This move brings a sense of familiarity because Moore originally entered the league after being drafted by the Ravens in 2016. He spent his first 5 NFL seasons with Baltimore, becoming known as a dependable depth receiver and, perhaps even more importantly, an excellent special teams contributor. That experience is likely the biggest reason for this reunion. This signing should not be viewed as a blockbuster addition or as a move designed to completely reshape the offense. Chris Moore understands the organization, understands what is expected from him, and knows how to contribute in multiple phases of the game. His greatest value has always been on special teams while providing reliable depth at wide receiver whenever needed. Training camp requires experienced players who can compete every day while also helping younger teammates understand the demands of an NFL roster competition. Last season, Moore played for the Washington Commanders, appearing in games while recording 11 receptions for 207 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. Earlier in his career, his most productive offensive season came with the Houston Texans in 2022 when he caught 48 passes for 548 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Those numbers demonstrate that he can contribute offensively when given opportunities, but his overall value has consistently come from his versatility and willingness to help wherever coaches need him. One particularly interesting part of this story is how everything seems to come full circle. Years ago, Tylan Wallace essentially replaced Chris Moore on Baltimore's roster. Now, if Moore somehow earns another roster spot, he could effectively fill the role previously occupied by Wallace. That does not guarantee anything because competition will be fierce throughout camp, but it certainly adds another fascinating storyline for Ravens fans to follow. Realistically, Moore still has to compete against several younger receivers. Baltimore's receiving room includes players such as Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Elijah Sarrett, LaJohntay Wester, Tez Walker, and Devontae Kobe Lane, along with other players fighting for opportunities. Moore's experience could certainly help him remain in the conversation, particularly because coaches value special teams contributions. Even if he ultimately lands on the practice squad instead of the final 53-man roster, his presence throughout training camp should benefit everyone competing around him. Another major topic surrounding Baltimore has involved speculation about adding a high-profile veteran wide receiver. Many fans immediately wondered why the Ravens signed Chris Moore instead of pursuing someone like Stefon Diggs. However, reporting from Jeff Zrebiec indicates that Baltimore is not currently pursuing a number 1 or number 2 veteran receiver. Instead, the organization believes in its current group. That philosophy says a lot about how the Ravens evaluate their roster. The team has tremendous confidence in Zay Flowers and reportedly views him as a player who could become one of the franchise's long-term core pieces. They also believe Rashad Bateman can continue building on his performance while giving younger receivers every opportunity to earn meaningful offensive roles. Rather than immediately bringing in another established veteran, Baltimore wants to see what this young group can accomplish once training camp competition begins. This approach also gives the coaching staff valuable information. Training camp provides the perfect environment to discover which young players are ready for larger responsibilities. Every practice, every preseason game, and every rep helps determine who deserves more playing time once the regular season begins. If those younger receivers consistently make plays and demonstrate reliability, Baltimore may never feel the need to pursue another veteran. If concerns develop later, the front office can always revisit the market. At this point, the Ravens appear comfortable allowing the competition to unfold naturally. Instead of making a headline-grabbing move, they are placing their trust in player development, internal competition, and the depth they have spent months building. That decision reflects confidence not only in the current roster but also in the coaching staff's ability to develop young talent throughout training camp. The next several weeks will be incredibly important. Fans will be watching for updates on Nnamdi Madubuike's health, following every roster battle, and paying close attention to how the young receivers perform. Chris Moore's return adds another interesting layer to the competition, while Baltimore's decision to stay patient instead of aggressively pursuing another star receiver shows exactly how much confidence the organization has in its current direction. Now it is your turn, Ravens fans. What do you think about bringing Chris Moore back to Baltimore? Do you agree with the team's decision to trust the young wide receivers instead of